Substrate. No, Sabian. Oh, that's what it says.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the Sabian interview series for the Sabian Education Network. We're back here live on Fridays. And we have a repeat guest from just a couple of weeks ago because we had so much we did not cover. Legendary Mr. Billy Cobham, that he gave us back another hour so we can abuse him further. So, Billy, welcome back.
Thank you. Hey, I got to start off with a really, really personal joke. I was on the road in Houston with Dean Brown, Saw Davis, I think, Baron Brown, Jerry Atkins. We're playing, I forget the name of this place. It was an old manufacturer's Hanover Trust Bank. And so we're playing this place, and we're in the last tune, and all of a sudden, we got bouncers and everything, normal club, and except that it's in a bank that has no money. So what happens next is that a guy sachets on in, and we're playing this tune. Jerry has a solo in the tune. It's the last tune set, and we're burning, man. All of a sudden, Jerry's solo spot starts, and I hear plonk, 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 and my eyes are closed, and I'm going, God, Jerry, man, he went really out, atonal, man. What is going on? So I open my eyes, and Jerry's standing with his hands to his side, and he then brings his hands up and goes, I don't know. And then he turns and he looks to his left, and there's a hands playing on the keyboard behind him. And so I get it. I said, oh man, somebody just crashed the stage. The bouncers let this guy walk in. He sits down and he starts to play. Jerry doesn't know what to do. I stop the band. Bam! Bouncers get the idea. They come up and they grab the guy. They give him the old bum's rush, and they take him and they throw him through they open the door, they throw him out the door, And so by this time we're all talking because it's over. But the guy comes back in and he goes, "That's all right. I'll be back next week. Chick Corea's here."
Was he any good?
No.
Oh boy!
But it was just one for it's another story. And we play off of all this kind of stuff,
You play enough places, you do enough shows, it's like you see everything. But we have so many people coming in. And last time, Dom, we didn't get to take too many questions because we had so many things to discuss. So if you guys type them in. But I have a few things to start with, and Bill, I want to make sure I understand something because you commented. We were talking a little bit about some of your legendary recordings, and it's a double bass drum thing. So on Inner Mounting Flame, it was single bass drum only?
When I played when?
On Inner Mounting Flame.
Oh, Inner Mounting Flame. It was a single bass drum, yes. Okay. Now, this goes back to when Don was just a kid and was just, he couldn't even get into the Action House. He's too young. Okay. I was at Frank Ippolito's trying to understand what am I going to do for a drum set. And I didn't have any money. Papa Joe then gave me he said, I need some money. I need money for the rent. I got a snare drum that I can give you, but it'll cost you $100. I said, $100? He said, yeah, $100. I said, what's it look like? He says, it's this. And he picked up a 4-inch by 14 Ludwig Black Beauty.
Wow.
That he was trying to get rid of because he said, I'm not going to play it. I play on newspapers now. I just fold them over, and I play on them with Teddy Wilson. They don't need a bass player. Let's not even go there. Anyway, what happened next? I get this drum on loan. He says, I need it, but before the end of the month because I got to pay the rent in the hotel. He was staying at a hotel down the road, right behind. I think it was on 53rd or 54th Street. Like a flea bag, but it worked for him. Yeah. And so I had that. I said, okay, fine, I got this. And Paul Kimball? Paul, no, is his last name Kimball? Paul, he was with me there at Frank's. and Al Duffy, me, and one other cat, a black cat. I can't remember his name now. I don't think he's with us anymore. We used to hang and keep the place together. It was like a barbershop.
Yeah.
In a corner barbershop. Everybody came through there. We were on 50th Street. The Union was on 52nd Street. So every drummer, had to come through there, and all the way either filter through us and go to Henry Adler's and then Manny's and then come back to us again. It was just the way it was. And cool for me, man, no problem. I was learning. I was just watching and learning. I didn't have any work, and so I didn't have a choice, except that if I on a couple of days a week, I knew that Grady or Mel were going to be working probably NBC or Craft Music Halls.
Grady Tate or Mel Lewis.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, right. Yeah. Them. So, meanwhile, during those days, so I would go over and I would find out what was going on Radio Registry, which is one of the answering services, and get a gig or two if needed. Some days, some months, nothing's happening. Some weeks, maybe 2 or 3 gigs or out of the blue, and that paid the rent. Yeah. But I was always at Frank's, teaching a little bit here or there, along with Max, Elvin, Papa Joe. It wasn't Paul. It was another cat there that was really. It was Tony, of course. So it was the 4 of us. I feel like I'm missing somebody, but there was always something happening. So one day I said, "Man, I got a gig," and everybody, talking. I said, "What are you gonna do?" I said, "I don't know. I'm trying to figure out. I got this snare drum from Papa Joe, but I don't have a drum set." Frank said, "Go upstairs and just open up some of the fiber cases and see what you can find." And Al said, "Yeah, just bring it downstairs and I'll see what I can do." So it was just that kind of family thing. I went up, I found a Slingerland RKO, just sitting dusty as heck, and on the inside it said Zooty. So I knew it was I knew that Singleton left a lot of his stuff there, along with I can't remember. There's a lot of Dixieland drummers that were staying there at the time, and Ulano used to go in and out of there too. Sam.
Yeah.
See, you never know what you're going to get, except for sure a story, and somewhere along the line that all you going okay, So anyway, I get this bass drum out. It looks horrible, It had like marine pearl. Most of them are like marine pearl, mother of pearl, some kind of stuff, and it's cracked and all of this. But on the other side, that's where not Frank, but Al Duffy did magic. He could turn anything into something that was amazing with the polyurethane, but you just had to get out the way, and not ask him about it too often.
Yeah.
Maybe once or twice, and then after that, he got very, very weird. So he was the only guy in town. He was building this or fixing this timpani or that.
Yeah.
As far as I knew, but I knew Adler's had also a good staff over there.
Yeah.
So anything was possible. And within, I'd say about 2 weeks, I was presented with a bass drum, a rack tom, which I think the rack tom wasn't Slingerland. It was like Leedy. But the bass drum was an RKO bass drum. I had a floor tom that might have been a Camco that they took it was a Camco, so I had those 3. And I had this bass drum pedal that said Camco, but it had a leather strap. And it kept breaking. And Al said, "I can fix that." And he went and put a bicycle chain on it. And a sprocket. And that was the first time I ever saw something like that. He said, "But it's not new. This used to happen in the 40s. And I don't know why they don't do it anymore, because it works. The rotation is correct all the time." And that was the first time I came across all of that stuff, man. And I used that on the Dreams. I worked with Dreams on that, and I think I had a 16-inch floor they made for me and a 14. Yeah, it cost me, in the end, my whole paycheck, which I think was $200.
Tom, you had a comment?
What's incredible is everyone has to understand Frank Ippolito's shop and Henry Adler's shop were 2 shops close to each other in New York City, and everyone hung out there.
Yeah.
That's where I took lessons with Papa Joe, Elvin, and Tony Williams at Frank Ippolito's place. And Al Duffy was an incredible mind and inventor of drumming stuff. And it was Al Duffy and Frank Ippolito that put that sprocket of chain on an old Campco pedal.
Yeah.
And they had a split patent.
Right, with Gretsch.
With Gretsch. And when they both passed away, they owned the patent. And that's why Frank Ippolito sold his patent to Tama Drums, which is why Tama has a Campco pedal. Right. And then Al sold it to DW, which is why DW has that pedal. So it's a split patent of that chain. Yeah. You were the first to have that. I remember those days at that point. Yeah. And listen, he's playing a drum kit that for all of us, we wouldn't be able to even play. And he plays it on these great albums. This goes down to the skill of the individual.
Right.
Well, it's about it's a testament to the fact that the drums can't play themselves. I mean, they only reflect what you know, you know. And you try hanging out with these people 3-4 days a week. I mean, not to mention who comes in.
Right.
Buddy would come in and sit down. Yeah, I have 5 minutes. I have 5 minutes. I got to be so and so and so. And an hour later, he's still there talking. You know, I'm going, this is the times that you don't say anything. You just watch. Yeah. You know, Al Foster, all kinds of people would come in, man. And, you know, Mickey Roker, you know, I gotta fix this thing, man. I'm playing over at this club or that club. And I have to have it today. You know, and everybody's working on it and trying to figure it out. And I'm watching if I can get something sideways, I will. But normally those cats, they had it all down. They knew exactly what to do.
And these are names of guys. When you mentioned Mickey Roca, and it's a name, it's an unsung hero. He really was great. I was there at Frank Ippolito's when he had two timbales mounted on the top of his bass drum.
Right.
He wanted timbales on top of that with the floor when he was playing with Dizzy Gillespie. And that kind of creativity was happening all the time at Frank Ippolito's shop. That was happening. Well, that is some great memories.
Yeah, man, because, you know, Burke's Dizzy, it was he needed to have a certain kind of Latin feeling, and he already had a cymbal that everybody had to play.
Yeah.
Everybody played that cymbal. I love the cymbal. It was a China ride with sizzles in it. So and it was dark sounding. And most drummers, you know, Rudy Collins, I hate this, but I need the gig, you know. So, but it sounded great when he played it. You know, he says, that's not where I want to be. You know, man, that band was burning with Moody. They had such a wonderful thing. Yeah. And I always remember that sound. It's one of the reasons why I really wanted to hold on to that character. And I talked to Lenny DeMusio about it in '68. I said, man, you're not going to get rid of this China cymbal. I said, yeah, Billy, I didn't want the swish knock. I mean, we had it, you know, all those cats are dying. I said, give it to me. You know, I need to have it now. I said, oh, okay, you know, we'll give you one. And thank goodness we turned the corner on it. Yeah. You know?
So Bill, by the time of Birds of Fire, obviously you were playing double bass big time. So did you like just kind of just set it up, and at that point you just learned it real quick between those two records?
I was asked by John McLaughlin to play two bass drums. He knew what was coming with Birds of Fire. Yeah. And it's not, man, I couldn't see myself for economic reasons bringing another bass drum on the bandstand. I mean, I saw what Louis was going through, you know, and I'm not going to, and all he was getting at it was on a solo. And I'm going, man, is that all there is? I said, well, I can hardly play one bass drum. Why would I ever want to just do boom, 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 boom on a solo? So I kept trying to avoid it, you know, body language, all of this, until finally he says, look, man, you know, just put it on a bandstand. It was just, you got to try it. At least if it doesn't work, then you will know.
Yeah.
I said, well, fair enough. I put it on the bandstand because I didn't know. I had it in my. Where would we play? We played. Oh man, in Austin, Texas, there was a big concert club. It was called the Armadillo in Austin, Texas. And yeah, huge, man. It was like held maybe 1,000 people. And it was a club. And we were there a day or two early rehearsing some of the new music, just to really sort of tighten things up before we went out. And I had a burgundy bass drum, Gretsch bass drum. My set was plexiglass, but I had a burgundy bass drum. Anything just to play it, to understand what could I do. I said, man, we're in Austin, Texas. Who would ever know? So I just threw the thing up there. I had it in the hotel room, and I couldn't then get to anything in the dresser drawer because the bass drum was in the way. So I had to, because the hotel room wasn't exactly big, I didn't have any money. So, but I had to find a corner, and that was the only corner where it fit, except that it cut down on my being able to access anything out of the dresser drawers. So I had to take all of the stuff out of the dresser drawers and put them on a chair so I could do that, and then put the chair on top of the dresser so I could get the bass drum in. So it all worked out. I started playing this thing. Boop, 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 boop. I could not come up with anything, man. And it was just the bass drums. My big deal, the thing was, I needed to focus on the weakness. I didn't know anything about bass drum, double bass drums. I could hardly play one bass drum. And so I thought, okay, we better just jump in with all, both feet, hook, line, and sinker, and see what happens on the gig.
Hey, you literally did that.
Yeah. So next move is that I got it up on the bandstand. I can't remember who the techs were at the time. And I think Anthony Barone, somebody like this. And I said, man, just put it up there and whatever happens, happens. I don't know. I might play one note on it because I cannot, for the life of me, understand what's going to happen with two bass drums. For me, we have so much going on up top. And then I realized, oh boy, some things just started coming, Then I realized the big problem with playing two bass drums, one of the major problems, is when not to play it. Yeah. Once you get in, the hook is, okay, I'm doing this, and the band's playing, and I said I have to play it with the band. I have to add this element. I'm not going to play it alone. I need to play it more to add this extra level of intensity on the low end. And so I started to do that. Then I went, my God, I'm getting really tired. When at I can't keep this up much longer. How am I going to get through this? Anybody got any pills? Anything. Finally, I go, okay, now I understand. We're in it now. So where do I bring it out? What phrase at the end of what phrase? How can I just hold on for another couple bars, before I don't want to lose the intensity level. And that was my first big lesson. Yeah.
When did you start playing? I remember we did clinics together where you had the 3 bass drums. And
that was 78.
Yeah, I remember working with Tama. We had to kind of figure out the pedal,
yes,
of how that all went down. You were way ahead of the curve from anybody else doing that at that time.
Louis, Pearl threw us out of the house, and we went into the back. God knows the truth, because he had this idea, and we had to figure it out. So I was there. And I told him, I said, man, how are you doing 5 bass drums? I said, Arthur Fiedler is that crazy, that he would allow you to do this with the Boston Pops. Right. And he was cracking up. He said, B, I got to show you this. And he brought me into this thing where it was like a square frame on wheels. Yeah. Reminded me, hey, Dom, of the old Miazzi drums, the electric drum.
Oh, my Lord.
In 68, okay? Wow. It was that kind of frame. Wow. And I was like, where's the box? Where's the box? Because the box hat was like a, what's the name of the cake? Great Italian cake with raisins and everything, and you get it in a box, and you have to take it off. I can't remember it now, man. It made me really fat. But anyway, that's a whole other story. Let's not get into that. Anyway, so what happens next is that I'm trying to figure out how we're going to carry this thing. He says, hey, it's cool, you know. So I had Tama make me the thing, and then Anvil made me, all Anvil cases, they made me the whole box that you could roll it into, you know. The only thing to me that was more obtuse than that was Carl Palmer's stainless steel drum set, where everything was locked down and soldered so you couldn't move anything. You know about this, right? It weighed about 1.5 tons, literally. Light, you know, and nothing. Thank God it wasn't this. I mean, we were starting to get a bit of a negative from the on road curbside load-ins at the airport because the thing was already much too heavy. And so they gave, instead of giving them $20 to put the stuff on the plane, they gave them $30. But you got to understand that that's 1.5 tons of gear going on a DC-9 anywhere or at any point. And anyway, this thing started to come together. And the next thing you know, I'm finding that, okay, it's about tones. 18-inch or 20-inch bass drum, 22 and a 24.
Right.
Okay, so I put the 24 in the middle, put the 22 on the left and the 20 on the right.
Yeah.
And 3 snare drums on top, which means that on that same frame, there were 3 snare drum stands with no legs. See?
It was not to do the side of the drum.
Right. So it was not was it? No. I had the 5.5 in the middle, the piccolo on the right.
Right.
And I had an 8 on the left. Wow. No, I'm sorry, flip it. The 8 was on the right and the piccolo was on the left because the 20 was smaller. Right. So I had those combinations of characters. And so I would tune them differently. Mm. And depending on, now we're talking about as the tune changes, I would change the character of the most important drums in the set, which would be the bass drum and the snare drum, primarily the snare drum. Yeah. And I'd be laying it down fat on the funk parts, and then go to a very bright sound if I wanted to on the other with a low end bass drum. Yeah. So that the frequencies didn't get out of the way. So what we're talking about here is not just laying down some rhythm. We're talking about what sounds with the rhythm will get that character across.
That actually connects back to what I was thinking about Birds of Fire, because on one word you're playing a solo, which sounds to me, one of the things I love is the 2 pitches of the drums are different. So right. Which a lot of drummers play 1 foot with the hi-hat on the upbeat.
Yeah.
When you play the 2 drums, number 1, the coordination is totally different. Number 2, the vibe of the pitches is, and you just, now I know you just started doing that, which is crazy, but you also stayed with the 2 bass drum setup over the years and never went to the double pedal. Same reasoning?
Right. I don't play double pedal unless I'm requested to play one. I mean, if I have to get into a situation where space is a question, I'll throw up a double pedal if I need to. But I prefer to play 2 drums, 2 tonal characters, and now it opens up some doors. Not to mention muting the drum. You know what I mean by that? The bass drum?
With your pedal?
Yes.
Hold the beat.
So you go boop, 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 boop. Okay. That is, I mean, none of that stuff is, it always, you have to crawl before you walk. But what you start to, when you get comfortable with it, now you're starting to bring in another character on the bass drum that you normally wouldn't have. Right. That's where you want to be. Because that's bringing out more, we're talking about now, that's Joe Bergamini. Yeah. Okay, he does that. Man, yeah, that's fine. How he uses that, whole nother thing. See? And it's a very subtle little thing until you start to listen carefully and go, that's 1 bass drum. But how come it has 2 sounds? And why does it have 2 sounds? Is there, especially with the second pedal? Now that's what I thought the second pedal was actually for. Yeah. You see, to play, boop, 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 boop. You know, and you start to work on that kind of concept as in the playing environment, in real time. Boy, you got something, man.
Wow.
Got something quite different, because it depends. Now it's about selectivity. The artist comes out, you know, when you choose what you choose to do what you need to do. That's what now it's music.
But this is what Billy's a master at. It's the orchestration of the drum set, not the way we see a drum set. It's not just the timekeeper or the rhythm keeper. It's really the orchestration of what sound are you looking for at that part of the music at that time, then to have the skill to pull it off. That's what Cobham does.
Yeah. So where we're going is that I can sit with both of you together, and we're playing something, and I will just keep time for you. Okay. And the whole objective is for you to not listen to me and just play whatever you want, but play with me whatever you want. So therefore, it gives what I'm doing for you gives you a reason to work against it, and all of a sudden we have this united effort on something. It's communal drumming, except that we're playing on drum sets as opposed to hand drums. I mean, when you talk about, I remember going to a wedding in Namibia, where the drummers were called by drum from one village to the other, over 50 kilometers away in the Kalahari. Okay, and they were contracted to come and play a year later on a specific day by drum. Okay, they came, they played. It was 20 guys, each had a drum, and they played because it was, as I understood it, was like 5 or 7 straight days of like this, but they were playing the history of the couple, the family of the couple that was getting married, on drums to the world, right? All the animals, all night, 24/7, man. Something like that, 24. And when I went and shook the hand of one of these guys who were playing, it was like they used Pond's lotion on their hands. There were no calluses. These were hair drums. They were straddling the drum. There were 20-something guys. I mean, this was like, maybe 25, 30 years ago. Wow. And they were there. That's what they did. They were playing the whole history of the whole family. And it was bad luck to stop. So they played straight through. It was always something happening. It was amazing. I believe it. I absolutely believed it. When I heard from a distance, you could hear this stuff, man, for miles. You go, whoa, boy, somebody's really laying it down. I didn't know. And they're smaller than us, you know, but strong. And I went, all due respect, man. Yeah, it's amazing. But again, I can see that happening with the drum set. When we say drum battles, I don't know. I don't have another title for it. It's not bad. I get it. But if you can just imagine a pattern that just impromptu, I'll play, and you hear something on top of it, impromptu to play with it, and then Dom comes in and does something in the middle of it, because that's from the heart. It's not to outplay each other. We're trying to knit something together, or crochet, in essence, musically, that we go together forward with it. So therefore, we've got this thing going, and it only stops when we stop, and it will never be anyone else's, because no one else could ever do it again.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I remember, Dom, you turned me on to Cobham meets Belsen. I remember I had the VHS tape, and that really exemplifies what you're saying, Billy. It's 2 musicians, you know, just the instrument happens to be the drum set, but you were expressively playing.
Yes. And I had a production in Lugano, Switzerland, at this big concert hall, Palacio dei Congressi, and it was Gil Evans' big band as part of it, and they were playing Louis' music, and I was also his guest, so we played together. Okay? And it just started out as something that we did, and then we started out in this one tune, and we played it, And all of a sudden, the band, everybody left the bandstand, and we just played for about half an hour. We got into some amazing things. Yes, trading, but then we played together, and the whole objective was to have him have a base in which to work from to play on, and I had to set that base and sustain it.
Yeah.
So in this way, it was communal drumming, like a hand drummer, but with sticks and multiple toms. So the boo, but India, whatever, but it was with a roundness to it, that just lent itself a lot more to the Western style of playing.
Right.
And all of a sudden we were there. We got into this bubble that lasted a very long time until it was almost Louis was like, hey, we can't do this. I mean, there's 20 pieces waiting, Howard Johnson, everybody else, Lou Soloff, everybody standing go, whoa, and nothing else is happening except us,
Yeah. Amazing. There's so many, see these great comments coming in from all over the world.
What Billy's talking about, and I had the chance, fortunately, of chatting with Billy for many, many years, doing these different drum clinics. We did, I think one of our first tours was 27 cities in 28 days. It was amazing. And we played together. And, when you think about when Chick Corea gets together with Herbie Hancock and goes out and does a piano duo, it's not a piano battle. It's two musicians getting together, trying to create the synergy of creating something which individually they could not do alone. Right. And that when you work with an artist like Billy, you have that opportunity to step into a different level of musical expression because everyone's listening intently to every note, how it's played, and it's all done for the purpose of creating something much bigger than each individual.
Absolutely. So, I mean, when I take somebody under my wing, so to speak, in a manner of speaking, like a Gary Husband, young Gary Husband, I mean, he comes on the bandstand and we play. What Gary brings is multidimensional. And what's so wonderful is because he's listening all the time.
Yeah.
Again, Gary sings, plays guitar, plays drums, plays keyboards like no man, it's like unbelievable. So all of that says, the more you know about the instruments that your colleagues may play in one way or another to be creative, the more you add to the security of the group in which you're working. Anybody from a jam session to working on the bandstand with the Fifth Dimension for 5 years, whatever. It's like all this stuff is coming and going and coming and going, and you're filing it and you're adding a contribution based on your history from, in his case, from 4 different perspectives.
Yeah.
So he can sit up there and play piano and know where the singer is going to be, or play drums and understand what should be used, how to create the tempo and the treatment of working, what the guitarist is going to play here or there because it fits, what chords, what notes. It's already been done in his head. For me, that's the reason why I'm such a student of orchestration, because I really feel that goes back to my drum set.
Yeah.
Now I'm playing and I go, I see where it's going. I know exactly where it's going. Yeah. And something will be played and I go, right on the money. We were there. But it's something that you have to grow with. You cannot just get it out of a book, much less out of a video of somebody else you see doing it. You just have to go and stumble and you make your mistakes. And if you're smart, you'll learn from the mistake. And you won't make the mistake again because you'll be an idiot if you do it twice. But that's normally the way it is, right?
Yeah.
I want to turn this to.
If you can, take some questions from some of these guys.
Totally. I just want to ask one thing, and it's
you young people always speak so long,
I'm sorry. So I remember a long time ago, I was playing with a keyboard player who had played a lot more jazz than I had at the time. And I said to him something, about, wow, you haven't rehearsed with any of those guys and you sound great. And he said to me, yeah, we're in constant communication with each other on the bandstand. So there's a lot of, we don't need to have rehearsed for this, and I was understanding that. Given the situation today, I mean, I don't know if there's any way you can replicate that other than by interacting with other human beings. My son just started his college and he's all virtual. So what can people do? I mean, we have to get together and play. What advice would you give to someone now who's restricted from doing that?
Ideally, I would hope and pray that the problem of latency is solved as soon as possible. Okay, that happens and everybody's playing together.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing of recording your track after somebody else record their track, and I understand that that's all we got really, unless, I mean, we have millions of bucks and everybody's not Bruce Springsteen, so that ends that. But on the other side, you get that latency problem down to a point where you can really feel what's happening and you can see what everyone is doing, because as you play, it's not mechanical anymore. Yeah. It's not, you're not assuming, well, you wanted to go here, so that's why we're doing this. It's not I'm not a robot. I can play with a click track that in a blink. I can even treat the click track so that I feel like so I'm playing just a little bit behind or a little bit before. Yeah. All of that, but it's not playing with human beings. Yeah. Okay, and until we get that latency problem solved, we got a problem. We can only do but so much. You do that, and school becomes no problem, man. You can stay and you can bang away with people and make records and videos that then can be produced, you know, in a virtual environment. You know, everybody's in Siberia, and yet the whole band looks like they're in Hawaii. Hey, you know, as long as the money's coming in, who cares? You know?
Right.
And the grass don't fall down, and you know. That could be embarrassing. You know?
We have people watching from Siberia today, all over the world. Dom, why don't we take actually it's a Sabian question here.
Yeah. Okay.
What's your opinion on mixing cymbals from different series? Most pros use top of the line series, but what about mixing in different things?
It's up to you, what you hear. I mean, to me, what, are we done? Okay. You get a bunch of cymbals. Well, okay. Pagnotti, here we go. So me, Lenny Pagnotti. Oh boy. So we go, hey Bill, you know, we got some pies over here. Okay. What we got? Okay. Where's the old man? He's upstairs, but he's coming downstairs. He heard you here. And all of a sudden everybody gathers around and the ovens, and we start to talk. And about, yeah, well, I got this sound. And there was just certain things that I just stick with all the time. And for me, this is what I hear. I've been playing Sabian since Sabian became Sabian. But before Sabian was Sabian was Zildjian. Yeah. And for me, that same cymbal sound for me only, that's why I never wanted a Billy Cobham sound, because it was already there. I didn't have to have my name on it, me personally. I just played everybody else's stuff and found that there were so many different types of sounds that I could have that developed from that platform, that I just moved in a certain direction that makes me, you know, this is 68, right? So what are we talking? 50 years, 52 years, something like this? This is 3 and 20, that's 50, yeah. 52 years with Zildjian. No, 67 I started with Zildjian. Yeah. And it's still, for me, I can't hear anything else. Yeah. It is what it is, and it's not just the way it's made, but again, it's the way I play it. So I approach the stick sound as a Charlie per sip, you know, 5B. I can't remember what I started with, and then Frank Ippolito started, because Gretsch stopped making it, so Frank started making it, and he put it professional percussion 5B or something, and I still had that, and until what happened? Until Herbie Brockstein came along. That's how long that was, man. But those sticks always sounded really good on the surface of the cymbals that I've always played for the last 53 years. Yeah. You know, no matter what the label was, it was still the same thing. So it had a lot to do with how I approach playing the cymbal. And as we get back to the question again, you know, is it okay to mix? Of course it's okay to mix if you hear something for it.
Yeah.
It's open season. That's the beauty of the drum set. You know, we have no keys to play. We just have to place everything in a certain position, and it's about the music we're playing. And if we're not thumpers, if we don't, I mean, and there's some great thumpers out there who keep really good time, but they're not thinking musically, they're thinking rhythmically, primarily, then that's what you're gonna get, you know. Then you're not gonna really care as much about what cymbal sounds louder. You will play into the cymbal and break more cymbals, and that would be natural. I don't do that. I sting the cymbal to draw tone from it. Again, I think I can be proud and say that I have, in my 52 years, I don't believe I've broken more than 20 cymbals in my whole career. Because I don't play into a cymbal.
Yeah.
You know, I don't beat it. I try to get the tone, the quality of the sound out of it, and try to sustain, control the curve, you know, so that it doesn't play too long. These are things that all make up my approach to playing through the drums.
But Billy, you've always said to treat the cymbal like its own instrument. You know, it really is its own instrument, and each cymbal is different size, different weight, different style of how it's manufactured is going to produce a different personality. So I'm choosing that up. And Sabian, what they do so well is it's still that secret process of the alloys being put together.
Yes.
They use that hand hammering process still as the probably the only company in the top 3 that still hand hammers. So they still make that traditional. So there's some qualities there that really allows us to have an incredible palette of sounds to choose from.
Oh, unbelievable. And so I mean, right now I'm not, hand hammer for me goes, okay, so this is where we go more, it's louder than I need to be, you know. I mean, it's just going to sustain and sustain and sustain. And I want to understand what to make happen for me, where everything is like a good compromise. Yeah. And that's where my, what do we call it now? They would call vault for a while, and then they would call something else. I can't remember what it is. And it's still the same symbol for me. It's just a name, you know. And it all works.
Yeah, the artist in the vault, they all came out, and they've got a little different twist of each one, but it's in that general sound of just fantastic beauty.
Yeah. I mean, just the quality is the level is exceptional, you know. And I never gave it a second thought. I mean, this is what I play. And so when I go to play on somebody, and like, with all due respect to all these other places, the names and all of that, they're probably pretty good, but I'm not qualified to actually say if it's good or bad because I don't play them. Yeah, I only play this, you know. Yeah.
Great, Dom. Do you see a question here you want to direct to? Let me let you.
I want you to pull up Ross Amoroso's question.
Yeah, I was looking right at that one.
Yeah. Hello, Mr. Cobham. Thanks for sharing your time with us. Ross is a wonderful drummer from the Ohio area. Your outward warning is one of his favorites. I really like the phrasing on Mosaic and the Dancer. Can you talk about arranging drum parts and your sound and how you put that all together?
Okay. For making records, the last part of my arrangement is the drums. Everything else I write first. Yeah. You know, it's just it just happens that way. Yeah. I hear melody and hear harmony, bass line, all of that. And I already know what I'm going to play. Yeah. You know, it's second nature for me. Yeah. So and I know it's just 2 and 4. Sounds like just 2 and 4, but oh boy, when you open up that Pandora's box and you start to talk about, it's just 2 and 4. Try and play that with feeling, you know, and sustain. It's a question of sustaining the concentration level, being focused, and understanding that you got to live this 2 and 4. This is not just 2 and 4. You know, this is a whole nother thing, man. And if you can't flow with the band, especially the bass player, and then just microns behind as everybody else, it's not going to happen.
And I remember in the early 80s when we were doing clinic tours on these massive tours at that time, we used to carry a keyboard around that you put in your hotel room and go back before and after the event. So here we are doing these clinics, which in a days of time could eat up all of your day. Billy would then go back before and after and start writing and composing, even for the morning album. He'd come up with ideas and play, and we talk about it. It was really very exciting.
And see, the thing is that you do that, and it becomes part of the fabric of who you are as an artist.
Yeah.
This is not a 9-to-5 job. This is like, you were born to do this, and you'll die doing this.
24/7. Yeah.
There's no such thing as retirement until you can't breathe another breath. I mean, this is what you do. Even if you don't play for a long time, not at all, and all of a sudden you get the goals. You say, okay, man, and you sit down and you start to play. Yeah, man, I remember. All of a sudden, these things just come right back because that's who you are.
Wow.
Great. I mean, this is. Listen, I tell all the guys that are listening and the girls too. This is wisdom of years of experience of playing the drums, of playing with the highest level of musicians, traveling around the world, the experience of all these different cultures and languages. This is what encompasses Billy Cobham. It's all of this information. So every note he plays, there's a commitment of dedication in every note, and the carefully of the placement of each note with the musicians that he's playing, with the songs that they're playing, in the room that he's playing. Billy allows all of those variables to dictate that moment is time. So when you go to hear a Billy Cobham performance, you're hearing a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity of what's happening at that moment, and that's the magic. You can go hear Billy 100 times, you're going to hear 100 different moments.
Right. That's what we do,
That's what you do. That's what you do. Not everyone does. That's what you do.
Well, I would like to believe that everybody does it, Dom. I beg to differ. I mean, it's in us all. I'm not doing anything different than you guys do. It's to a greater or lesser degree. I'm sure you do it too. It is supposed to be this way. You only can play when you're comfortable. You can only play who you are. You do what you can, and it represents who you are. And that's what I'm doing. I'm very curious about a lot of things, and I find myself. My wife thinks I talk too much, but when it comes to play, I tend to listen and watch. I mean, can you imagine, man, being in where was it? In Japan with Miles and Gil Evans, and I think the band that we had was Hiram Bullock, and Hiram had a broken leg. And this is the Gil Evans Orchestra. We were over there to actually support Miles. He was just coming back from a 5-year hiatus or something like that, and they wanted him to record. And we never got a chance to record. He was there with his wife, Cicely Tyson. It was my honor to be in such royalty, so to speak. And it really affected what I did. We had some great musicians in the bandstand, on the bandstand. Tom Malone, everybody was there for that one. Even Howard Johnson was playing penny whistle when he wasn't supposed to. And so all of that was happening, and finally we get into this thing called Hotel Me Blues. I swear to you, if you can pick up a record, everybody, and check out Gil Evans, or just this one tune called Hotel Me Blues. It is the slowest tune of blues that I have ever played in my life. I had so much difficulty playing this tune because the tempo was something like the triplets. 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 2, 4, 5. Ba, ba, yo, da, da. This is 19 pieces and 2 tubas in the front line and baritones and ba, ba, yo, da, and everybody they had to make a trill. They had to shake. And bat, boom, boom, bat. I'm telling you, man, it was really an eye opener. It woke me up. it's so difficult to do, but it was so musical the way they did it. I was just happy to be a part of it, man.
There were also times when we did the clinics together where I would do my thing, Billy would come out and wow the audience, then we'd play together. Billy would call me back up. And every performance, Billy would call a different tempo and a different type of feel out. We had nothing planned. You know, it was the concept of rehearsal is for cowards. We just went out and we played. And Billy, a couple of times, Billy called out tunes that slow, tempos that slow, and we played. The audience went berserk because they realized how difficult it was and how much happened and how space was equally as exciting as the notes were. That was
unbelievable. It's the sounds of silence, man. That's why I love that piece, you know, by Simon and Garfunkel. I mean, it all, oh my God. But it just hit the note right on the head. Yeah. And then to be able to have the honor to play with an incredible musician like Alphonso Johnson, who plays with so much space between the notes. Yeah. After coming off of the road with the MO, and everybody's like, all of a sudden I'm with George and Alphonso Johnson, and it's but and he has enough time to lick his fingers in between the notes. I'm going, how? I mean, all of a sudden I found myself out there with like egg on my face for like a few much more milliseconds than I'm used to. I'm trying to, do I play whole on notes here? No. It was like going back to the United States, to the military marching bands and learning how to play a jazz straight ahead and understanding that you couldn't play jazz straight ahead and use sevens or anything like that. It didn't work, you know. I mean, okay, you okay, no, that you can't do that, you know. It's a 5-stroke roll, you know, or something like this, or something that's going to make it flow. Alfonso would leave me out there hanging, and I finally, it took, thank God, I kept the gig, you know, so I was able to get it together. But oh my, big lessons.
We just did a panel session for the Sessions panel. And I ask everyone to go there and check that out. But we just did one with Billy. We had Carmine Appice, Greg Bissonette, Billy Cobham. We had Nathan East on bass and Daryl Jones on bass also, and Paul Quinn. Mm-hmm. And we did this session, and I loved how in awe and how familiar Daryl Jones and Nathan East. I mean, of course, the drummers, Bissonette, myself, and Carmine and Paul Quinn, we all have followed Billy. But as bass players, they were very aware of everything you've done. They were so aware of all the different playing. And so as dedicated musicians, Daryl Jones and Nathan East, they really studied Cobham for their craft. So that Billy has reached way beyond just the drumming, you know, our little drumming world that we have. There are musicians out there that are studying Billy that should study Billy, because if you follow Billy's history and career, there are encyclopedias of information in each decade as Billy played. So it was really respectful to see those bass players really understanding Billy Cobham.
I was quite honored. I mean, I never, these are two bass players I never worked with Daryl in my life. I just am a fan, you know, I'm just a big fan of Daryl Jones. And with Nathan, he just came and sat in with me on a clinic in San Diego.
Yeah.
And I went, mark that down. I hope John will get him, you know. And it turned out it didn't work. But, you know, at the same time, look at where he is now, man. And that's wonderful, you know, to see how he's blossomed and he's become a cornerstone for so many others, the generation of his own now. Yeah. That's great.
You know, I think to add to what Dom said, Bill, I'm really encouraged by this, and I think a lot of our SEN members and other drummers and musicians watching are encouraged, because those ethics of listening to your other fellow human beings on the bandstand and just being comfortable in your own skin as a player. You know, some of us, like admittedly myself, will watch great players and always look at the things we're still working on, look at the shortcomings. But I think you're reminding me we need to forget about that when we're on the bandstand and just be human and be in the moment and be in the music and be yourself. That's what.
Yeah, sure. One of the things that I did that hurt me really bad in the very beginning with the MO was I didn't know how to breathe, and I I was not afraid to go to McLaughlin and say, hey, man, I find myself playing all I know in one bar.
Yeah.
And we've got a 3-hour show. What do I do? He says, breathe. I said, huh? He said, breathe. I said, what do you mean? But he says, like you're walking down the street, you're playing very hard. That's great, but you're getting tired fast. So how about you play and pace yourself, breathing as if you were having a conversation through the drums. Okay? It may not be as loud at this point as you would like, or you may not have you cannot sustain the intensity as for what we're doing, but eventually that comes, like speed and everything else. If you don't have form in the beginning, then you can't get very fast in the way that you'd like, and you won't play as intensely or comfortably as you would like. If you don't sit well, if you don't address the drum set, you will not play well because the mechanics are wrong. Yeah. Okay. And until you address those, nothing else is going to happen past a certain point. More than likely, you're going to end up just becoming a postman and leaving the gig, because there's nothing else to do.
That's good. Joe, if you would bring up, this is a good way to kind of wind this down. Bring up Fred Dinkins' comment that he has. Fred Dinkins, who is a phenomenal teacher and player out in the West Coast doing his stuff here. He speaks about.
I'm not just saying this. You and I look at the same comments and love them. Yeah.
Says, even though I'm looking at a computer, I'm still in awe of Billy. He's such an amazing legend. When he speaks, the drum world listens. So, I mean, that's such a great observation of what it's like. Thank you, Freddie. It really is that point, Billy, that you have this incredible way of delivering the message that literally helps this next generation. And you've done what I've always been so impressive, what I used to enjoy about Art Blakey. He always had great musicians in his band that went on to become great musicians. You've carried on that philosophy that everyone that you bring into your bands always have gone on to have careers and done their things. You've done exactly what Art did in the modern sense of the world of playing, which is amazing. Yes.
But you do, I mean, it's a concept that comes from, God, man, the people who play with Burks, with Dizzy, looking at Max's bands, but the bands that have sustained themselves over the decades at times, Art Blakey and the way he addresses the public, the band, how the band looks, and presents themselves. That also is a big plus, but mostly the notes that they play, the discipline that is presented as a unit, because the Jazz Messengers, man, individually they were great players. But the band
collectively, it was incredible.
Collectively was on another level. Okay, Oscar Peterson, trio or quartet. Yes, he was an impresario. He was an incredible pianist. But with that rhythm section behind him,
Ed Thigpen.
So when you have those three guys together, they could play. They could close to the Basie band in their biggest moments. And nobody would remember Basie.
That's right.
And the trio would come on and play some of the most amazing repertoire. Yes, it appeared difficult and complicated, and so is my stuff. But it shows that if you're dedicated and you really want to play, if it tells the music never lies. That's the main thing. It's like, you want to play at a certain level for the music, then that's what's going to happen. If you don't want to get past that, then you're going to come up with all the excuses as to why it doesn't work for you. You didn't get paid enough money. You need your parking bill paid. This happens, that happens. All these little things are small little items that say, man, I don't want to do more than I'm doing. That's all it is, So I want your money, but I don't want to give you anything in return for it of quality on an equal level, So what happens is that eventually either I continue to ascend, or we got to go our separate ways, because I have something in my head, and that's what I'm thinking. Why I'm writing, I'm thinking, how can I share this with the public? Not just the notes for playing it. It's not about playing faster or more complex than anybody else. I'm trying to play me. I'm trying to express me through others. What I've heard and learned and all of this, I want to share. But I need a certain level of proficiency in the people whom I'm working with, so that I can do that, And if it's not happening, then I'll go find somebody else, And that's easy. So I'll write some stuff that is more in tune and in line with those people. But at least I will be with people who respect me, maybe not like me, but respect me for what I do. And that's very, very important, So then we work.
Yeah.
That right there is the legend of Billy Cobham. As you can see, it's almost 9 o'clock at night in Switzerland where he is. And that only allows us to now plant the seeds for a part 3, so we can get to all the questions and do this again at some point. This is huge.
Questions? What questions?
Yeah. I want to say to all you guys I've read all the questions. They're all great. Thank you. If you tuned in partway through, you really need to go back and watch this entire session. Bill has just shared some amazing things. He was not on point last time, but this time he was good. No.
Oh man, that's
part 3.
Guy.
But before we close up, I know our time's almost done, but I just want to mention that, Dom, am I correct? And we were saying Bill is taking a select number of students at this time. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yep. BillyCobham.com. And it's really kind of like more consultation lessons. I think it would be great for each one that is listening today to contact Billy, BillyCobham.com. Go there, email them, and Billy, sit down with them, evaluate them, and start to give them the chance to take them to that next level, which they may need to do. It might be requesting who they should listen to.
Yep.
What books there are available, hand patterns that you might show them. But I think if we can use this time while Billy's available in Switzerland, as he gets his studio together and what's happening, this is an opportune time for you all to take several sessions with Billy Cobham. This will move you to that next level.
Looking forward to it. Hope to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
Well, Bill, you if you're not careful, you're going to become our most requested guest, because we're getting a flood of comments about part 3. So,
no, I mean, I'm open, man. I'm so. I mean, as the days go by, I have to be reminded by my cousin, who is 10 years older than me, that don't lose your mind. You're losing your mind too soon. I'm already 86. Don't lose your mind. Remember what you have to do. I'm sorry, Joe. I somehow I missed it, man. I ended up watching a Lone Ranger cowboy movie or something. I don't know. Or Hop Along Cassidy or something. You don't know anything about that.
Your cousin might be 86. You're 76 years young and still going strong.
We're trying. I do my 2 kilometers because my wife makes me do it. But it happens. Yep.
Your spirit and your vibe and everything is so young, and we just thank you so much for sharing a time with us.
Well, I sure hope that you guys stay safe, everybody out there in Sabian land, and not to mention the rest of the United States. I mean, I wish you guys well. It's gosh, you're up against something that I never dreamed I'd ever be seeing.
Yeah.
It's off the hook, man. Off the hook. Crazy.
We appreciate it. Well, as you know, go to SabianEd.com, join the Sabian Education Network. We'll be back next week, Dom on Thursday, and I'll be back Friday, brewing some interesting ideas for members only to come in October. So you'll only see those ideas if you're a member. So I want you to join up. Okay. And Bill, thanks again. Dom, thanks again. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.